guys, me again. Here we are for chapter 15 of Because of the Rabbit. So we're just gonna hop to it. I haven't said that in a while. Hop to it. We're actually gonna combine chapters 15 and 16 just because we're a little pressed for time at the end of the year. So hopefully we'll get through it. All right, here we go. Chapter 15. To offer grooming, hold your hand on the ground in front of the rabbit. If the rabbit accepts, he will come to you. Scared had been training in secret. She was miles ahead with excited nowhere in sight. More than anything, I wish school were over and I could go to my room, close the door with Loppy, and never come out. It was so unfair. Loppy could have died if Dad and I hadn't rescued him, and he loved me now. The girls kept talking as they ate their lunch, but I hid the rest of the pickles in the napkin. I didn't even care about pretending I liked them anymore. How could this have happened? I'd pushed the worry that Loppy might belong to someone else far into the background. And the idea of coming home from school without Loppy there made me want to cry. Maybe the Abbotts hadn't loved him very much. Maybe they'd been so mean to him that he ran away. And even if they had loved him, Iris said the posters were down, so they must have given up on finding him. Maybe they had a new rabbit now. When lunch was finally over, I told Leah I'd catch up with them at recess and went to the girls' bathroom near my classroom to pull myself together. There were other girls' rooms in the school, but I just wanted something familiar, even if it was a longer walk. I'd hoped I'd have the bathroom to myself, but there was another girl washing her hands. I picked a sink close to the door and didn't look at her. I didn't know what to do. I'd only agreed to give Loppy back if the shelter called. I never agreed to go looking for the owner. But a small, whiny, know-it-all voice inside me whispered, "But it's not right to keep him if he doesn't belong to you." Time for recess. In the mirror, I saw Jack in the doorway waiting for me. All I wanted was a moment to myself to figure out what to do. But there was nowhere to be yourself at school, not even in the bathroom. "Not now," I snapped. "Can't you see him in the girls' room?" Hurt jumped into Jack's eyes. At once, I knew I made a mistake. I hadn't meant to yell. It just came out that way. And as he turned and ran, all my worries exploded out of me. "Wait!" In the hallway, I saw Jack disappear into our classroom. We weren't supposed to be in there at recess, but I didn't care. Even if I got in trouble, nothing could be worse than how I'd already felt. When I stepped inside, the classroom looked empty. Jack wouldn't climb out a window, would he? Then I saw his sneaker toes sticking out from under the big long tables in front of Miss Hutton's fabulous fifth graders bulletin board. I crawled under the table with him. Jack's face was buried in his arms across his knees. "I'm so sorry," I said. "I just needed to be alone for a minute." Jack didn't lift his head. We sat in silence, just the sound of the clock ticking and the muffled voices of kids going outside. All morning I'd wished the clock would go faster, but now I didn't want those hands to move at all. In fact, I wish I could go back to the night before school started, before I realized how hard it was all going to be, back when Loppy was just mine and anything seemed possible. But I guess anything includes bad things too. "Something horrible happened at lunch," I said quietly, "but no matter how awful I feel, it wasn't right that I took it out on you." "It wasn't right," Jack echoed into his arms. I felt ashamed that I had yelled at him and hurt his feelings. Jack had sat with me when I didn't have anyone. He'd voted for my idea against Iris. I told him things I hadn't told anyone else, including one of Papir's stories. And I'd rolled my eyes and yelled at him. So what if Jack wasn't exactly like everybody else? I wasn't either. If Papir were here, I knew what story he'd tell me. It'd always been one of my favorites, but I understood it in a new way today. "Can I tell you a story?" I asked. "It's about the day Monsieur Lepine tried to be like Madame Sitel, the nuthatch." "Why?" Jack asked into his arms. "A nuthatch is a bird." I wasn't sure if the "why" part went with the "can I tell you a story" or with Monsieur Lepine wanting to be a nuthatch, but I answered the last one, because nuthatches can climb up and down tree trunks and peck out tasty bugs. Jack lifted his head. "Rabbits are herbivores." I nodded. "True, but Monsieur Lepine has rabbit magic, remember? Anything is possible." "Yes," Jack said slowly, not sounding completely convinced. I kept going anyway. "So it happened once that Monsieur Lepine decided that he'd climb a tree and get some tasty bugs to show off to Madame Sitel that he could do anything she could." "Nuthatches can go down a tree trunk head first," Jack said. "Only a few birds can do that." "Really? That's another reason for Monsieur Lepine to be jealous," I replied. "So he tried to climb the tree, but rabbit claws aren't made for climbing bark, and he got scared halfway up. And when he tried to climb down head first, he fell to the ground." I added that in just for Jack. Did he get a concussion? Jack asked. Excuse me. No, he was only embarrassed, not hurt, I said. And then Madame Sattel said, Silly Monsieur Lupin, you'll never be a nuthatch. You are a rabbit. Then she flew up into the trees and climbed down the tree trunk head first with food to share with him. They ate it together as friends. So it was. I looked at Jack. That's one of my favorite stories. I think it means that a real friend will like you for you. And even if you aren't exactly alike about everything, that's okay. I gave a small shrug. It gives you something to need from each other. Sometimes I have to be Emma Nuthatch, Jack said. I smiled the first real smile since lunch. That wasn't what I was planning to say, but it worked. And you are Jack Rabbit, I replied. We stayed under the table so long that my legs ached and I heard the kids coming in from recess. I couldn't move though, not yet. I felt safe under there, and when I crawled out, that safe feeling would be over. I'd have to deal with the napkin in my pocket. The horrible thing that happened at lunch was about Loppy, I said quietly. Someone lost a rabbit, and maybe it's him. Jack stared at me. Maybe it's him? I nodded, tears filling my eyes. I'm scared to find out if Loppy belongs to that other family. I have to call them, and I don't know what to say. Jack crawled out from under the table. Where was he going? Didn't he hear what I said? Now I was all alone. Then I heard Jack ripping pages from his notebook. What are you doing? I asked, coming out from under the table. Cue cards, he replied. Jack handed me a pencil. As I wrote, my hand shook so hard it didn't even look like my handwriting. Hello, my name is Emma, and I found a rabbit. That's what she wrote. And that is the end of chapter 15. So we're just going to keep on going with chapter 16. A rabbit will grieve the loss of a mate. That night after supper, I went to Owen's room. Can you help me with something? I need to find out someone's phone number, and they haven't lived here very long. He looked up from his homework. Can't you just ask them? I shook my head. Please don't ask me any more questions. Okay, well, if they have a landline, we can probably look it up online. For once, I was glad for the miserable cell phone service in the mountains. Most people still had landlines at home because they were more predictable. As Owen opened his laptop, I pulled the napkin out of my pocket. All I have is a last name and the street they live on. I tried to act normal, though my insides were exploding into sharp pieces. They moved here over the summer. Owen looked at the napkin. What's this about, Em? I swallowed hard. It's just something that came up at school. I need to ask someone a question. It was pretty clear that I wasn't telling him everything. But telling the truth isn't always as simple as in two truths and a lie. Sometimes the whole truth is just too much to say at once. I might even be able to find out a first name for you, Owen said. No guarantees, though. That's okay, I said quickly. If you get me the phone number, I'll take it from there. While Owen searched online, I looked around me. His room had changed, but he still had a Lego boat we built together on his shelf. It made me happy to see it there, like maybe he still cared about it. I wish I hadn't thought to show it to Jack. He probably would have liked it, I wish I would have thought to show it to Jack. He probably would have liked it, even if it wasn't as impressive as his dinosaur skeleton. Maybe I could invite him over again? But if I did, what would that mean? Working on an assignment together was one thing, but hanging out was another, and school seemed to have a lot of social rules that I didn't know. Owen wrote a phone number at the bottom of the napkin. Try this one, Em. If it's not right, come back and I'll keep looking. Thanks, I started to go, but I paused in the doorway. Owen? He looked up from his textbook. Why'd you keep that old Lego boat? I blurted out the question fast before I could change my mind. The Lego boat? He looked up at his shelf. I don't know, I just like it. We worked hard on it, and I like to remember us putting it together. It was fun, remember? I nodded. You aren't afraid your friends will make fun of you if they saw it? He shrugged. A little teasing would be okay, but a real friend would see that it mattered to me. I sighed. That kind of friend is hard to find. Yes, and you have to be that kind of friend back, Owen said. It works both ways. So you also have to be the friend you want to have. I opened my mouth to say, I have been, but then I sucked my bottom lip. Had I really? Owen grinned. Hey, this might sound silly, but let's make another big Lego project together after soccer's done and things aren't so busy. I'd like that. Part of me doubted that it would ever happen. After soccer, there would probably be something else. But even so, knowing that he wanted to do something with me filled that empty space inside me. I wish I could tell him the real reason for the phone number. But if I told him, I would have to call, and I wasn't ready. Back in my room, I told myself it was too late. Maybe the family had little kids who were in bed. I'd have more time on the weekend. I should practice my reveals first. I needed to get my props together. But deep inside, I knew timing wasn't the problem. Every time I looked at Loppy hopping around my feet, chinning everything in sight, I didn't want to call. I'd rescued Loppy, but now I needed him to rescue me. I needed him to be there when I got home from school. I needed to love me best, and I needed to believe that Pipir had sent him to me to bring me rabbit magic. Or maybe that was just wishing. Maybe there was no rabbit magic. Maybe Loppy was just someone else's stray pet, and I was just a weird girl that nobody wanted for a best friend. I put the slip of paper with the name and address with the cue cards at the very back of my assignment notebook, and then I closed it tight. It's like she's putting it back there because she thinks she's going to forget about it, and she won't. She's going to try to forget about it. So that's the end of chapter 16, and that is where I leave you. So you guys have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.